let's talk about hacking and what exactly hacking is. Hacking refers to exploiting weaknesses in a computer network to obtain unauthorized access to information. A hacker is a person who tries to hack into computer systems. Now here there are some keywords that you need to understand. First and foremost, exploit. When you're exploiting weaknesses are technically called vulnerabilities, which are basically design flaws, misconfiguration errors, usage of default usernames and passwords which have not been modified. So any misconfiguration or anything that has been left behind by a security administrator that can be misused, which means exploited by a hacker to gain unauthorized access. So the next term is unauthorized access, something that you're not allowed to do. And when you say a hacker is a person who tries to hack, it's basically a person with malicious intent trying to gain access to a system or a resource that they are not authorized to access in the first place. How do they do it? They find a vulnerability that is a weakness or a flaw, and then they misuse it to gain access to that particular network. So here in the diagram, you can see that a sender on the left-hand side is trying to send some data to the receiver on the right-hand side. The hacker would try to gain unauthorized access to the transmission that is being sent and would try to capture the data packets and read the secrets within. Let's look at a business case scenario into hacking. Now, there is an organization, everybody is going around their own business when they realize that their systems may have been compromised. Now, they're trying to look at the customer data to ensure that data has not been compromised and trying to assure the customers. However, they do realize that some customer data has been lost and even the company reports have been modified as well. Now, this is the scenario where there have been some security controls in place and those controls have been identified. They realized that there is an attack that has happened, and based on that attack, they have realized that the data has now been compromised and the records have been modified by the hacker, which means that the data is no longer trustworthy and thus cannot be used by the business for any legal transactions. So then the hacker gives a call to the organization or gets connected to the organization demanding a ransom for the data to be replaced, to be taken back into the original state where it was trusted, and thus the organization can utilize it for business transactions. The organization has probably no backup, so they decide that they want to pay the lump sum to the hacker to restore that data so that they can continue on with the business. Thus money exchanges and the hacker is able to restore that data and the business continues as usual. However, the activity here of a hacker trying to leverage the misconfiguration of the weaknesses in the organization's security, thus being able to hack them and make these ransomware demands. So the company then wants to figure out, even if having a security system in place, how was the hacker able to hack their systems? Thus, one of the employees comes up with a brilliant idea of identifying vulnerabilities in the network to proactively search for any flaws that have been left behind, so that they can plug those flaws and nobody can misuse them. Thus, they figure out that they want to hire an ethical hacker who would help them identify the security portion of the organization, identify the weaknesses, vulnerabilities and flaws, and help them remedy those flaws so that in future scenarios, these scenarios will not happen. So before we go into an ethical hacker, let's understand what are the types of hackers. So what are the types of hackers? Hacker is a technically skilled person who is very adept with computers. They have good programming skills, they understand how operating system works, they understand how networks work, they understand how to identify flaws and vulnerabilities within all of these aspects, and then they understand and know how to misuse these flaws to get a outcome which would be detrimental to the health of the organization. So there's 6 types of hackers that have been identified: black hat hackers, white hat hackers, gray hat, script kiddies, nation-sponsored hackers, and hacktivists. So black hat hackers are basically the malicious hackers who have malicious intent and have criminalistic tendencies. They want to harm the organization by hacking into their infrastructure, by destroying their infrastructure, by destroying their data, so that they can gain from it from a monetary perspective. These guys are also known as crackers. The main aspect of these people are that they have malicious intent, they try to do unauthorized activities, and they try it for personal gain. Another important aspect to remember is that a black hat hacker will always try to hide their identity. They'll spoof their online digital identity by masking it, by spoofing their IP addresses, MAC addresses, and try to remain anonymous on the network. A white hat hacker, on the other hand, is also an ethical hacker or a security analyst who's an individual who will do exactly the same thing that a black hat hacker would do, minus the malicious intent, plus the intent of helping the organization identifying the flaws and remedying them so that nobody else can misuse those vulnerabilities. So they are authorized to act on the company's behalf. They are authorized to do that activity which would help the company identify those flaws and thus help the company mitigate those flaws, improving on their security posture. So these kind of security experts or ethical hackers would help organizations defend themselves against unauthorized attacks. Grey hat hackers is a blend of both white hat and black hat hackers. So here they can work defensively and offensively both. They can accept contracts from organizations to increase their security posture. At the same time, they can also get themselves involved in malicious activities towards other organizations to personally gain or benefit from them by doing unauthorized activity. Script kiddies are people who are technically not much aware about what hacking is. They rely on existing tools that have been created by other hackers. They have no technical knowledge of what they're doing. It's just a hit or miss for them. So they just get their hands on a tool. They try to execute those tools. If the hack works, it works. Otherwise, it doesn't. So these people are basically who are noobs or newbies who are trying to learn hacking, or just people who with malicious intent who just want to have some fun or trying to impress people around. Then we have the nation or the state-sponsored hackers. As the name suggests, these hackers are sponsored by their government. Now, this may not be a legitimate job, but most of the governments do have hackers enrolled in their pay on their organizations to spy on their enemies, to spy on various countries and try to figure out the aspirations of those countries. So this is basically a spying activity where you're technically trying to get access to other countries' resources and then try to spy on them to figure out what their activities have been or what their future plans have been. And then we have the hacktivists, who's an individual who has a political agenda to promote, and they promote it by doing hacking. So these guys, what is the difference between a black hat hacker and a hacktivist? The black hat hacker may try to hide their identity. A hacktivist will claim responsibility of what they have done. So for them, it's a political agenda, a political cause, and they will try to hack various organizations to promote their cause. They would probably do this by defacing the website and posting the messages that they want to promote on these websites.